subscribe to Raze Chaos.
And welcome back, everybody. My name is Raze Chaos. You've made it back to my channel, and oh yes, I've got another. When I talk about anything goes on Friday, that's what I'm talking about. A lot of you may have noticed that, in previous videos when I would show off some of the superpowers characters from McFarlane Toys, that I mentioned that I was getting really close to jumping back into the action figure bit, and won't say I'm there yet, but I'm even closer at this point. And that is because Raze found the Bug and the Blue Beetle figure at the same place at the same time, and yeah, that was a little too much for me to avoid. And so we're going to put this guy away, and we're going to have a look at this. So, yeah, Blue Beetle's been around since 1968. The name's been around even longer than that. Yeah, this was... I was a big fan when I was younger. Way younger. Getting into the Justice League International. I mean, I'd always been a fan of Batman. And then I found Justice League International, where there was a lot of comedy infused into the book. And so, yeah, that drew me like a moth. And I went ahead and started collecting that, even after the point where it had gone beyond an acceptable level. It kind of stopped being a superhero book that really focused on superheroes, and primarily ended up being comedy. It was more about the antics of the characters, and the Justice League International was just really... I mean, when you think of the Justice League is the flagship superhero team of the DC Universe. Like, this is the hardest one. If you were going to pit DC versus Marvel, you would want to pit the Justice League on your team. That's going to be your strongest team to go up against anybody. Yeah, in this case, it had fallen so low that, yeah, you kind of wondered how DC would fare in a full-on battle, because when they do crossovers and stuff, they'd usually have like one of the backup members, not even the leader of the Justice League, take note of that, or, you know, just take command. Good example being DC's Invasion, where you had where you basically all the heroes of Earth had to repel a massive alien invasion that came from several different. I mean, you had the Darlings, you had the Huns, you had the Dominators, you had like several different alien races joining forces to come and take over the Earth. And yeah, Captain Atom was the leader of that team, and he wasn't the leader of the Justice League. I believe he was the leader of the Justice League International, but that didn't come until after that. Yeah, it's just like the Justice League, even though he was part of the Justice League, and they kind of grouped around him, he wasn't the leader of the Justice League. It wasn't the Justice League that repelled the alien attack. It was Earth's heroes. And honestly, much like they did, as much as I don't like to praise Grant Morrison, he was the guy who, when there was a alien invasion that the Earth had to pose back, he essentially had the Justice League incorporate all the other heroes into the Justice League to repel the invasion. Everybody was a temporary member at least. And yeah, like, that's kind of how it's supposed to go. But I loved the Justice League International when I was reading it. Following it, basically Blue Beetle became a comedy character. He was kind of the forefront of. He was the biggest goof of all of them. He would team with Booster Gold, and they would essentially be a comedy team. That's not where he originated from. That's not where he came from. So it was really good. I like that they didn't play this for laughs, and it's just a full-on Blue Beetle thing. Because he was one of the flagship characters of Carlton Comics when they came. Ted Kord definitely was. He was actually created by Steve Ditko, who created a lot of the characters, and it's kind of interesting because he is one of the legacy and derivative characters of the Golden Age that technically, it gets a little complicated there. Because that while there was a Golden Age Blue Beetle, and he was running around there, his name was Dan Garrett. You've probably heard of that if you're a fan of Blue Beetle at all. But what you probably don't know is that Fox Comics owned Blue Beetle. They were the people who brought the Blue Beetle into existence. Essentially riffing off of Green Hornet, and they made another character called Blue Beetle. But when Steve Ditko wanted to create that, when they wanted to bring Blue Beetle, he that was his idea, and he created his own version of Blue Beetle because he already had Captain Atom in the Carlton universe, and really didn't want to do a lot of superpowered characters. He wanted the non-powered characters more than anything else. So he decided to make a non-powered Blue Beetle. And to explain the switch, he incorporated a backstory about an archaeologist named Dan Garrett, who had lost the Blue Beetle scarab. Now, Carlton wasn't Fox Comics. And in order to get around with it, since Fox Comics was already long gone by 1968, they didn't have the rights to the original Blue Beetle. So what he did was he used Dan Garrett. However, he put an extra T at the end of Garrett. It was Garrett. And essentially there was nobody around to argue with him. So, essentially that's another example of how the comics used to rip each other off all the time, and still do anytime they get a chance. So, that's, it always confused me in one of the older, I used to be a big trading card collector, and in the later, or the 90s, they did some DC collector cards, and they had like these legacy cards where you'd have the Golden Age Superman, the Silver Age Superman, and the Modern Age Superman, and you could put them together, and it was kind of a nice little tribute. They did the same thing with the Blue Beetle. They had a Golden Age Blue Beetle, they had a Silver Age Blue Beetle, and the Modern Age Blue Beetle, which is Ted Kord. It always confused me because all the information on the back of the card was absolutely the same for the Golden and Silver Age Blue Beetle, except that the Silver Age Blue Beetle had an extra T in his name. And that always confused me. Of course, this was pre-internet time, and I couldn't look this stuff up. So, looking it up again, being reminded of that little discrepancy and looking it up again, I found that little nugget of information. I think that's a lot of fun. But enough about that. We're going to go ahead and tear these open and have a look at them. We're going to go ahead and look at the Blue Beetle first. And this is our Blue Beetle. This is comic accurate, mostly comic accurate figure. I really loved his design, even though, it's not the kind of thing that would strike fear into the hearts of anybody, with the goggly eyes. And while it's accurate, that really does kind of emphasize on how googly-eyed he actually was. Ooh, excuse me. How googly-eyed this character was. I don't think the bubble goggles on the masks really work well with heroic characters. It does kind of make them look goofy, which kind of explains why they did what they did in the Justice League International. But yeah, Blue Beetle would fly around in his thing and in his bug, and his big thing was, while Batman would swing out of nowhere, essentially, and come down on villains and everything, Blue Beetle would be in his bug, and he had a line that he would hold on to he'd have a handle, and he would like slide. He would just basically come down over whoever he was coming on, a la Batman style, except that, you know, he didn't have to worry about where his line was attached because he had this massive aerial mobile headquarters flying above him. An interesting aspect in that is when DC was doing the actual Blue Beetle comic in the 80s, they actually had his little beetle insignia on the back of his gloves, and that would actually be controls to the bug. And they incorporated it into the story that was his way of being able to control the bug while he was on Earth. But they even did it in the story where the bug was reacting to controls or to orders that his gloves were giving him while he was in a fight. He's like punching people with these controls on his glove, and he would hit the buttons on his gloves while he was fighting, which absolutely makes sense. And the bug would be out of control. So they had a whole subplot in that 80s Blue Beetle series about that in the very beginning. So he eventually did away with that. I know he's still able to control the bug, but I'm not 100% sure how they changed it. I'm sure there's controls in the glove or the belt, or, you know, in his goggles even, maybe, who knows. But yeah, that was always a detail that I really enjoyed that they did, because showing superheroes progress is showing them becoming a hero. Having them already perfect is a little bit harder to get into and relate to. But then we have the bug, which, if this does seem familiar in the aspect of the Watchmen, with the owl ship, that is because the owl ship is derivative of this. This is Blue Beetle was the inspiration of Night Owl, even to the point of there's an earlier Night Owl that that the new Night Owl, like, you know, idolizes, and essentially passes down the mantle to him. That was all because Blue Beetle was the original Carlton character that Alan Moore was going to use for the Watchmen, until DC said, no, make them your own characters, and then subsequently didn't give them back to him. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and open this guy up and have a look at him. Probably going to have to put him together, so we've got to expect that. So here we have got the pieces, and ooh, and here's that. Now it actually looks like the owl ship at this point. Make sure we got everything we're gonna get out of here, and yeah, we've got it. We've got we're gonna go ahead and see how hard this thing is to assemble. It shouldn't be too hard, but, you know, you never know. And boom, this is it. And yes, it does look like the owl ship quite a bit. And I like they've got the detail of "I Love New York" sticker on the back of it, which totally makes sense. Oh, there's a little thing for him to hold on to. That's kind of cool. And yeah, it's like he holds on to it and comes down out of the sky, and wow, that comes right back up when you push this button. This would be the hatch that he came out of And so that's kind of cute that it's right next to it. And if you wanted to, if you're a child playing with this, or an adult playing with it, because that's very possible as well, he would just come right down and you could zip him back up in a heartbeat. And you've also got the boom that opens it up, which is another thing that reminiscent of the owl ship. Yeah, this is really good looking, and I appreciate it. I appreciate the fact that there's a spot for a second person to sit in. Yeah, in olden times, when we used to play with this kind of stuff, they wouldn't have the stickers on there. You'd have to put the stickers on them yourself, and McFarlane is taking care of that. And it looks like the only kind of assembly we've got to do is putting the legs on. So, yeah, we're going to go ahead and put the legs on here. And this is probably going to be like the Brainiac ship, where they actually are very individual. And I don't know what this thing goes to. Where does this thing go to? I'm going to look at the thing here. And, oh, okay. That explains that. Okay, so we've got these, and yes, we have Blue Beetle's bug. That is so cool. So well done. And as for what this thing is, this is actually the antenna for the bug. Which, let's see which direction this goes on here. You gotta wait to make sure that Raze doesn't break the dang thing. It's not like he hasn't broken a figure on here before. Yeah, boom, that is so cool. And putting this up here, we can actually have Ted Cord sitting in his bug. Oh yeah, and the fact that I do believe they have a booster gold for that, you could actually go ahead and have them sitting in the bug. Ooh, quit coming up here. So, yeah, this is really solid. This is really cool. And yeah, you can actually have them standing and looking at this hatch that he's going to pop out of and come down on. And yeah, this is really, really cool. And I am so glad that Raze managed to get this figure in this set. This pulled him out. Like, I had to get this thing when I got it. This is Blue Beetle and his bug, and yeah, McFarlane hit my favorite Superpowers line of toys of all time, and bringing a Blue Beetle. Yeah, even on the box, the other person in the person in the other seat is Booster Gold. Yeah, this was something, I swear to God, if I had this when I was a kid, I would have absolutely loved this thing to no end. And I kind of love it now to no end, because now I have Blue Beetle's bug. And who would have thought that was ever going to happen? But yeah, this is really awesome. I am so excited to have gotten this, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this, and I hope that you let me know in the comments below if you read the Justice League International, or if you love Blue Beetle like since then, because I know they tried to make him serious right before they killed him off. In the very issue, they tried to make him serious again. And yeah, just let me know in the comments below what you think of this Blue Beetle bug adventure. This is so cool. I can't even get over this. But I'm going to go ahead and get out of here now. But never forget that life is full of odd moments. You never know when you're going to be defined.
So you